Welcome to the second Sunday in Easter, also known as Divine Mercy Sunday, or Doubting Thomas Sunday. Today, on the final day of the octave of Easter, the 8-day celebration of Jesus' resurrection, we give praise and thanks for God's mercy as we begin our 50-day Easter journey over the next 6 weeks until Pentecost. But a couple of things that I'd like to point out first before we get started. First, you may have noticed that the first reading was not from the Old Testament. And we know that usually our first readings are from the Old Testament, but in the Easter season you'll find that we generally read from the Acts of the Apostles. The other thing I want to point out is that the second reading today was from the book of Revelation of John that Paulette read. It's not often that we hear these particular readings, but once every 3 years during the Easter season we receive. So the remainder of Easter this year, be on the lookout as we continue to hear from Revelations of John over the coming weeks. The Easter season gives us the opportunity to get a glimpse at the faith of the early Christian community. In the Gospel today, Jesus commissions the disciples, breathing life into them, telling them to receive the Holy Spirit in anticipation of Pentecost. The fear felt the original disciples is evident through description. He was sending them out. I skipped a line, sorry about that. And he was sending them out to his Father as his Father had sent him. But it was a dangerous time. The fear felt by the original disciples is evident in the description of doors were locked. Remember, Jesus had just been arrested, convicted, and sentenced to death by the religious and secular authorities. But on the evening of that day, the first day of the week, the first Easter Sunday, Jesus stood in their midst, addressing them with, "Peace be with you." A traditional Jewish custom offering them some comfort. But they must have been exasperated. First, the doors were locked. And second, Jesus was crucified and buried just days earlier. Now, Thomas wasn't there at the time, and when the apostles told him what they had seen, he didn't believe them. He could have taken their word, but he needed to see for himself. Jesus doesn't give up on Thomas, though. He shows up 8 days later, on the second Sunday of Easter, today. And again, the doors were locked. And Thomas was there this time, and comes to believe with his proof. He was guarded to believe, but his fears were subsided. We hear through his acclamation, "My Lord and my God." Thomas's confession of faith. Moving along in time, we see the fruits of the apostles' work in the first reading of the Acts of the Apostles. Though the Roman government and the Jewish leaders did not look kindly to their work, they continued, and the message they delivered brought many converts. The sick are cured, demons are driven out, sins are forgiven, and great numbers come to believe. We hear that some people were scared to join Peter, but their faith was more powerful given the number of people they had brought who needed healing. Now in the second reading of Revelation of John, John was on the island of Patmos where he was banished for being a Christian. It was in his Sunday prayer that in his vision Jesus addresses him, saying, "Do not be afraid." Was John afraid? I'm not quite sure, but he does describe upon seeing the vision that he fell down at his feet as though he was dead. So it's very possible that he was scared. And if Jesus says, "Do not be afraid," my guess is he probably was at least a little scared. How many times do we hear that God, why have you done this? We hear so often that God is a punishing God. It is human nature to react to anxiety and distress with fear. But Jesus brings us peace and reassurance. Jesus has talked throughout his ministry about mercy and forgiveness. But it's on this day, Divine Mercy Sunday, that we hear Jesus tell the disciples, "Whose sins you forgive are forgiven them." It is in this episode that cements our sacrament of reconciliation. This is one way in which God's mercy comes to us just when we need it the most. The gospel today closes with Jesus did many other signs that are not written in this book. These are written so that you will come to believe. Likewise, in the Revelation to John, Jesus says, "Write what you have seen. It's also written so that you will come to believe." There are some like John who believe that they've seen the face of Christ. It's in their testimony, and their testimony is fierce and unwavering. The majority of us may not ever experience such a dramatic witness, but we can see the face of God in others. We can express the love of God in His mercy, and we can extend mercy to others around us, and heal and nurture those with our gifts that we've been given. The answer lies in our faith. But the question remains today, what proof do you need?